after the Bloodhound Gang would release one of the most popular and controversial songs of the new millennium with Bad Touch. After the Bloodhound Gang would find themselves fleeing the country of Russia after a publicity stunt gone horribly wrong. After the Bloodhound Gang would go on a permanent hiatus following the Russian incident and release only one album since 2015. Now, if you're old enough to still remember just how inappropriate the Bloodhound Gang was and their mega hit single Bad Touch, well, just wait until you hear the story behind their eventual breakup. Now, back in early 2000, the Bloodhound Gang, they were practically inescapable thanks to their hit song. And yet, after reaching the very top of their craft with their 2000 album, the hilariously titled Hooray for Boobies, well, this pack of poorly behaved dudes more or less completely disappeared from our lives. So what happened, and what does it have to do with an international music tour, a Russian flag, rotten vegetables, and a fistfight at an airport? Well, you're about to find out as we investigate the Bloodhound Gang by asking one question everyone wants to know: where are they now? My name, of course, is Michael McCrudden. The inception of the Bloodhound Gang took place in the late 80s when two high school buddies from the city of brotherly love, I'm talking Philadelphia, well, James Franks and Michael Bowe, they teamed up to form an alternative rock band called Bang Chamber 8. They released their very first self-titled mixtape in 1990 and then proceeded to change their name to the Bloodhound Gang as a homage to the PBS kids show 321 Contact. Now, that's a series that featured a group of young detectives with the same name banding together to solve crimes. In tandem with this decision, well, lead singer James nicknamed himself Jimmy Pop, and Michael, he switched his own moniker over to Daddy Longlegs. Now, back in these early days of their career, well, the Bloodhound Gang, they couldn't find any Philadelphia clubs that were willing to book them. So they used to perform at the house of future band member Evil Jared Hasselhoff. Now, eventually they landed bigger profile gigs at venues like CBGB in New York City, and they recorded their first demos with titles like Just Another Demo. That's as well as the original motion picture soundtrack to
Austrian Paint,
Handicapped Helpers. Man, the 90s, they were a totally different time. Even if we use the word like one of our videos, totally demonetized. Different times. By 1994, they dropped their first EP, Dingleberry Haze, and based upon the strength of that project, well, Columbia Records signed them and produced their debut studio album, Use Your Fingers, that very same year. Now, unfortunately, the album, it was a massive commercial failure and would result in Daddy Longlegs growing delusional with Columbia and ultimately leaving the group to form his own hip-hop collective. That would be known as the Wolfpack. But Jimmy Pop, he refused to let the Bloodhound Gang die. He recruited new members like Evil Jared Hasselhoff, as well as DJ Q-Ball and drummer Spanky G. Leaving Columbia in the dust, while Bloodhound Gang, they signed a deal for distribution with Republic Records, and they released their next album, One Fierce Beer Coaster, in September of 1996. Now, the lead single off this project, Fire Water Burn, well, it would become the band's first substantial hit and one of the year's most requested songs on alternative radio. Now, of course, this single, it would have to be heavily edited for content to garner playtime on both television and the radio, which quickly led to the Bloodhound Gang earning their reputation as artists who were more than willing to push the boundaries of good taste. But since nothing gets more attention than controversy, well, before long, a frenzied bidding war broke out to sign Bloodhound Gang to their newest contract, with Geffen Records eventually coming out the victor. Now that a record label was finally willing to give them the push, well, Bloodhound Gang, they found themselves exploding in popularity thanks to media appearances with the likes of Howard Stern, Jenny McCarthy, Ricky Lake, and more. God, I do miss me some Ricky Lake. That was the female Maury Povich. Now, 4 years would pass between the release of Beer Coaster and the band's next project, one that would cement Blood Gang as North America's litmus test for bad taste, after they titled it Hooray for Boobies. Now, believe it or not, but this album, it would eventually go on to become the Bloodhound Gang's masterpiece.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
They recorded the album in 1998, but the project, it wouldn't see release for 2 years because one of the singles, Right Turn Clyde, well, it featured an unauthorized use of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. Now, this resulted in around 300,000 copies of the album already pressed for distribution being destroyed before they could ever be released. Now, in an ironic turn of events, 2 days after those albums were destroyed, well, Pink Floyd, they changed their minds and told the Bloodhound Gang that they could use their sample after all.
It's a weird situation, because you don't even use their lyrics, you just use a tune for a small time, you change your own lyrics to that. Mm-hmm. That's illegal too?
Yeah, apparently. Just about everything's illegal in America.
Once that was finally sorted out, well, Hooray for Boobies, it would finally drop at the dawn of the new century in early 2000, and the lead single, Bad Touch, well, it would quickly become the defining moment of the Bloodhound Gang's career. Now, thanks to the insistent dance beat and the unbelievable catchy chorus, "You and me, baby, ain't nothing like mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel," well, Bad Touch became one of the first mega hits of the 2000s, charting on 14 different worldwide charts and managing to hit the #1 spot on 5 of them. Jimmy Pop couldn't believe the success they had stumbled upon, and he told Rolling Stone during an interview, "It's validation for those of us who believe in the lowest common denominator. Can you believe that a record company gave us $1 million for 12 songs, and one of them is made on a Casio keyboard with lyrics about a stripper?" But even as far back as then, well, Jimmy knew that the path the Bloodhound Gang was on, well, it couldn't last forever. He told Rolling Stone, "I would say that maybe at the most we can make 2 more records like this, and then we'll all be done. By that time, we'll all be about 30, and that's a good quitting time. If we keep going, we'll end up wanting to free Tibet or something." Now, Jimmy had no idea how right he really was, because after the release of that breakthrough album, well, the Bloodhound Gang really would only release 2 more albums spaced out over the next 15 years. Over the next decade, well, the band, they went through a series of talent switch-ups, with only Jimmy Pop and Evil Jared staying put. In 2005, their 4th studio album, Hefty Fine, was released with little to no fanfare. Now, the album, it earned its title from the time that Evil and Jared were arrested and fined during the filming of a cameo for MTV's Viva La Bam.
French kiss. So now I'm gonna French kiss not do that.
Now, apparently Jared, he attempted to urinate into a Dixie cup that Jimmy happened to be holding, but Jimmy was standing at the bottom of a public parking lot complex, and Jared, well, he was apparently standing at the very top. Now, he was then fined $10,000 for this stunt, thus the title Hefty Fine. Now, the lead single, Foxtrot Uniform Charlie Kilo, well, it would earn itself some heavy rotation on the radio, but the rest of the album was completely an afterthought to most people. By the early part of the following decade, well, rumors began to circulate that a new album was on its way, titled Getting Laid on a School Bus, with an estimated release date of sometime in 2012. The album would be hit by a series of delays, and by the time the project finally did drop, well, it was the end of 2015. Meanwhile, in the years between the release of those 2 albums, well, something would happen that would change the course of the Bloodhound Gang forever. In 2013, the group was in the middle of a world tour and performing in the city of Odessa, located in the Ukraine, when Evil Jared decided to put a Russian flag down his pants and rub it against his junk, while he told the audience beforehand, "Don't tell Putin."
Don't tell Putin.
Well, apparently someone there, they did. Now, either that or Putin, he's a huge fan of the Bloodhound Gang, and he caught the act live on camera himself. Anyway, Russia's response was swift and vindictive. The Russian Minister of Culture took to Twitter to call the Bloodhound Gang members idiots and promised that they would never perform on Russian soil, the very spot they had been scheduled to perform next. Despite Jimmy Pop immediately condemning what Jared had done while still on stage, and the fact that Jared would later apologize by saying that sticking things down his pants was just sort of his thing, well, the Bloodhound Gang, they did not find a warm welcome upon their arrival in Russia. In fact, once they arrived at the airport, they were met by Russian nationalists who began to pelt them with rotten eggs and tomatoes. One of them even attempted to smother a band member with an American flag. Now, the police would intervene, and the Bloodhound Gang, they would be on the first flight back to America. Now, a criminal case against the band was eventually opened, and all members, they were banned from entering Russia and the Ukraine for a period of 5 years after being accused of inspiring hatred and enmity. Following this dramatic turn of events, the Bloodhound Gang would go more or less radio silent. Now, behind the scenes, they finished off their last album, 2015's Hard Off, but each of them knew that what had happened in the Ukraine had spelt the end of the relationship. When Hard Off was released to a tepid response, well, the Bloodhound Gang, well, they were officially dead.
But suffice it to say, whatever happened there was kind of my fault. And I think the rest of the guys in the band are still a little bit pissed at me because, I did something kind of dumb and it got us into a lot of trouble.
So is there any hope for a reunion? Honestly, not. Because as it turns out, we had our opportunity to help facilitate a return and we blew it. In 2017, Evil Jared Hasselhoff revealed that the only way that the band would ever get back together is if Donald Trump was impeached from the presidential office. I mean, we kind of got that, like halfway, but needless to say, well, the Bloodhound Gang, they didn't mount a comeback. And who knows? Maybe that was for the best, at least for them Ukrainians and Russians In fact, the guy filming me right now, he's from Ukraine. He's not impressed. My name is Michael McCrudden, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know who to feature next in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in another video. Also, sorry for the hair. I just got a haircut. Alfalfa's everywhere. We're filming this at like 8 a.m. in the morning, so and I'm a little rusty. I don't film these that often anymore. Anyway, I'll see you guys in another video. Boom! Love the song, though. Love the song. Changed my childhood, for sure.